see what's going on. There's just too many different things happening in the world. Too many different things. But I will say this for certain. I will say this for certain. I still like Trump. Happening in the world. I still like Trump. I still fucks with the Trumpster. Welcome, everybody. This is the Blackrant podcast. We are here today to talk about a couple of different instances that are happening all around the globe and in the mainstream news and media. As you know, the biggest news event that has happened is Venezuela. Why? We will continue to talk about that for the next few weeks because the implications of it are just so huge. I remember being a person, very young person, early 2000s. And I recall um, hearing about this all the time. Oh, Maduro. Well, back then it was Chavez when George W. Bush was in office. Chavez. He's bad. We got to get him out of there. Hugo Chavez. I didn't really understand what the hell was going on at the time. I was, very young, very naive. I did know for a fact at that point in time that 9/11 was an inside job. I'll tell you that right now. and now, like I said, that is just common freaking knowledge. Common knowledge now. But now, you know what's funny to me? And this is what I've been thinking about a lot. It's just recurring over and over and over and over and over again. That because now we've faced and we've seen a generational shift, the generations have shifted. Baby boomers are now starting to obviously leave the workforce. They're going to, pass on trillions of dollars of wealth to the next generation. Hopefully, God willing, it won't get sucked up by all the, private capital and banks and things like that. But there's been a brain leakage, a brain trust leakage, a brain drain, if you will, on our society. And Gen Z, and there's many different factors for it. There's a lot of different factors for it, to be honest. One is the technological change and shift, the technology, the things that young people need to know and do. Boomers don't even understand. They don't even so they can't teach it to Gen Z. Gen Z needs to learn all these new technological advances, AI, things of that nature. So that's number one. Boomers can't pass on their knowledge because the knowledge that they have doesn't align with the knowledge that Gen Z needs. However, there is a lot of knowledge that boomers have, wisdom that Gen Z does need, but it's not being transferred or passed along. Why? Because Gen Z has not hit a lot of the markers in life, a lot of the stages in life. Millennials were much slower, and people are still much slower to do that thing that we were all promised with the American dream: get married, have kids, buy a home, get the white picket fence. That is now age 40, the average age of a first-time home buyer, which is, it should not be the case, right? And so when you are delayed in beginning your own family, beginning your own life, this is the arrested development theory that I've constantly harped on, constantly. The arrested development thing wherein you have grown ass children, Disney adults. And we're still just talking about millennials right now. We're not even talking about Gen Z per se at this moment. So then you move forward. Now we're talking about Gen Z. They are still in this place where they can't afford anything because the affordability crisis is very, very severe on the lowest rung of society, right? We're talking about a group of people who haven't even gotten started. And before they've gotten started, not only have we had economic turmoil, upside down, crazy stuff, we had COVID 5 years ago. So many of those Gen Zers were graduating or about to graduate 5 years ago. It shook, rocked their world. They thought the world was ending. And because when you're a teenager, when you're a very young person, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can only see what's happening right in front of your face as it's happening. So a lot of them were like, yeah, screw it. World's ending. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna screw it. Right? That was happening. And also the other thing that was happening was on top of the fact that these young people thought that they weren't going to have to be a part of society, contribute. They thought things were just falling apart. And guess what? They didn't. Fooled you. Gotcha. Psych. So the decisions that they made were they were no longer the decisions of somebody who was planning out long term, 5 years, 10 years in the future. But now they're entering the workforce or attempting to enter the workforce. And there are no jobs for them because when I was coming out of, well, I went to college pretty late because I thought, I considered myself, I had enough personal self-awareness to say, yo, if I go into college right after high school, I'm gonna just screw it all up. I am going to screw it up. I'm gonna flunk out. I knew myself well enough. So I waited. I was about 20 when I went to college. 20, 21, something like that, which was a better time for me. But however, when I came out of college, there were no jobs for people with no skills. Yeah, that was the case back then. And so now that is still the case, except now the low level skills that someone would develop if they were in an internship or in some kind of, entry level position, that is being taken over by AI. So the parentage that did not prepare their children, the Gen Zers, for this time period, which how many people was that? Most people do not prepare their kids. Most people send their kids off to public school and think to themselves, oh, 8 hours a day at a freaking school somewhere is going to really get them ready, The people who I really felt sorry for when COVID happened were inner city school children. The kids that were barely getting into school as it was, with all of their surroundings and their environment and all that going on. Now, all of a sudden, you throw COVID into the mix. They don't have to go to school. It's all, virtual, Zoom. What the hell did everybody think they were going to do? So they really dropped out of society. And so when you see this rising level of crime, misbehavior, indecency that's happening, and a lot of these people are in their 20s, their mid 20s, that's who we're talking about. People who just graduated from high school, were about to graduate from high school, or were entering high school. Those people really got screwed over by the whole COVID thing. The world is just now coming into a sense of normalcy. Add on to that Trump's tariffs, all these other things, these inconsistencies that we've never faced before, this huge shakeup. And so what I'm getting at, the point that I'm trying to make, is there is a huge disconnect and brain drain between the generations. There's a huge gap in between what people can understand and what they know, what they're expecting, and what is actually happening. Add on to that, I'm telling you, AI, algorithms, social media, and we have an entire generation of people who on average are extremely confused about what the world is, what it means, what it stands for. Most Gen Zers were born in a post 9/11 world, or they were very young when 9/11 happened. And so they're already demoralized by that. And so what I see is a huge problem moving forward into the future. We have Trump on one hand, and as you can see, I'm wearing the hat. I'm a Trump supporter in the sense of I understand what Trump is there to do on the positive end of the spectrum. I understand what Trump is going to do on the neutral side of the spectrum, and I understand what Trump is going to do and what the impact he has already had on the negative side of the spectrum. There's no way you can enter into the world stage and expect to only have a positive impact, period. Just not going to happen. It's not real. If that is how you view the world, then you believe in fairy tales more than anything else. You can look at anybody, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, doesn't matter. All of those people who have had the positive Cinderella story of bringing about the ultimate world beauty and all that other stuff, there is a dirty underbelly to that we were not told about. And then now it's coming out and there's a lot of misinformation. But that's my point. The reality of the world is that nothing is all good or all bad. We don't live in a world of all good or all bad. And so what I am seeing is, because we have a younger generation, I'm mainly focused on Gen Z, but millennials as well, because they deal with this as well because of the um arrested development. The arrested development is the problem. Because because millennials like myself were not made to adapt and become grown-ups early, as a lot of generations do when they're like war torn or they go through great conflict. You grow up very quickly. Millennials had this ability to remain childlike way into their 20s, maybe even into their 30s. So a lot of them don't want to deal with, and they can't cope with the reality of the world, and they don't want to believe that nothing is all one or the other. They don't want to believe that. They want to believe that if you are a good person, then you believe in the goodness of the people who are the victims all the time, period. And this is what has given rise to the woke left, to wokeism, where becoming the victim is the ultimate form of domination, because you cannot question someone who's a victim. You never can question, because are you a good person? If you're a good person, you can't question a victim. Good people don't question victims, which is hilarious, because if this were the case, okay, it's almost like the antithesis of this is being produced in the Candace Owens, Erica Kirk situation. Candace Owens is the victim for harassing the victim. Candace Owens should have the sympathy. I've seen so many videos of people going, "Oh my God, man, we really need to support Candace because she's looking for the truth." Dude, what about the woman who slept with the guy, had his children, lived in the house with him? Oh, no, 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 no. Screw that lady. She probably had something to do with it. Whoa, dude. Whoa, dude. Whoa, dude. Crazy. So this is what I mean. The world is being flipped upside down because there's an intense level of brain drain that is happening, where people cannot discern, especially younger people, but older people as well, because they're getting disoriented. Let me not even talk about the older people right now, because that is a whole nother subject. They're being disoriented by things that they know. It's wild. This is why anytime I, I I say this when people ask me like, "Oh, why do you like Trump?" I said Trump is a psyop, and people laugh at me because they're like, "What does that even mean?" Trump is the psyop. If you want to talk about the transformation of our entire planet, this is why I don't have a problem putting on the red hat, because we're all wearing a red hat, whether you want to think you're not or whatever. You could think you're the most anti-Trump person in the world. You're wearing the red hat. You're an idiot. You don't believe that Trump has transformationally changed everything. And I'm not talking about the man. I'm talking about the idea. Trump is a psyop. And as soon as Trump came down that escalator, everything changed. And so, like I said, we are talking about a generational brain drain creating a shift on our population. And it's very important, because no Gen Z person who just went to regular public school learned any real history. Any history that they know, they've learned from YouTube, TikTok, the internet. And so that is questionable, unless they went to somebody who's very, very credible and does their research, does their, references, all that stuff, which generally is not the case in a 1, 2, 3 minute TikTok. Okay. Especially on TikTok. Why does China want to give us a social media app? Well, and so unless you have a rarity of a person in Gen Z, millennial, whatever, that wanted to seek out real knowledge, has enough discernment to differentiate between one's emotions and the reality, the truth, the objective truth. We are living in some crazy times, and so I'm not gonna pontificate about this too much, because I can go on and on and on for hours. However, I wanted to start there, because the Venezuela thing, if you don't have historical context, if you do not understand the history of America, the Monroe Doctrine, the Roosevelt I can't say that. I can never say this word. Oh my God. The Roosevelt addendum on the Monroe Doctrine. If you don't understand those things, then you don't understand why Trump had such right to do what he did. However, if you also don't understand the beginnings, the foundings of the UN, the League of Nations, if you don't understand the true agenda of the UN, NATO, the League of Nations, if you see those organizations as benevolent, beneficent, all good, and you don't realize the UN is involved in more human trafficking than Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, like, but this is what we're talking about. So many people on the left, especially Gen Zers, younger people, we're focused on them, but people on the left believe the UN is a good organization. They don't know about the murders, the mass killings, the genocides, when the UN troops have gone into African nations, the human trafficking, the selling of body parts, organs. They don't know about all that stuff. They don't care about all that stuff. So when Trump and Trump administration opposes the UN and says, we're going to leave you, they don't realize the United States is the main financial contributor to the UN. The United States is the thing that keeps the UN floating and above board. Just like when the League of Nations was put in after World War I, it fucking failed because Congress said, no, Woodrow Wilson, you cannot just enter us into a treaty without our approval. So the UN was the 2.0 of the League of Nations, meant to control and dominate the way nations do conduct business with one another, as a way to create a bulwark between national sovereignty. And so you can argue that, yeah, that's probably a good idea, right? You should probably have something like that, right? Yeah, you can argue that. You could argue. But I would argue to the contrary and say this. Even though there are some countries that need to be kept in line, maybe they have a history, or maybe okay, whatever. You argue for that, right? Oh, the UN keeps things organized. The UN also would have restricted Trump from making the move that he just did. Okay. You have, and man, I gotta find this. We're gonna find this. You have so many people in Congress, and Senator Rand Paul, this hurts my heart. This hurts my heart to say it. Senator Rand Paul was accused of being on the Maduro payroll. The list of senators and Congress people that got leaked. It hurts my heart to say that, man. It hurts my damn heart to say it. The list that got leaked of people on the Maduro payroll via various NGOs, nonprofit organizations, all that other stuff, getting funding. Rand Paul was on that list, allegedly. Your favorite guy, Thomas Massie, was on that list, allegedly. Senator Thune was on that list, allegedly. And so, makes a lot of sense when you look at Rand Paul's complete opposition to some of Trump's most fundamental pieces of legislation and orders, executive orders that would move the agenda forward. Every time, and Rand Paul has done it in a very nice way, where he's kind of sat back and said, oh, I just want to have a conversation with Trump. I'm not really opposing this. I'm just I just need some more clarification, so we can make sure this is constitutional. Okay, listen, I am reserving my judgment until we know for certain, but it does call some things into question. And that is what we're doing. We are questioning, but we are not sitting here going, oh, jury's concluded. There it is. It's done. We know it. Total traitor, total Zionist, total evil person. They did it. They killed everybody. We're not going to Candace Owens this thing. No. We are going to be systematic and clear when we talk about these things. So I wanted to oh no. Okay. Whew, I was so scared. I wanted to bring up this clip. I was watching my old fave, Alex Jones, and this is very interesting. And I think we should start to look at it because it says Intel expert believe that Cuban intelligence may have been holding Nicolas Maduro hostage and that President Trump's daring raid was really a rescue mission so that Maduro and his wife could turn state's evidence. If that's true, that is amazing, but it's also like not shocking. That's how the world works. They were in bed, Venezuela, Cuba. Venezuela was providing 100,000 barrels of oil a day to keep Cuba afloat. They saw Maduro like, crashing out and dancing and everything. They knew that, his time was probably close to being up. So they were probably holding him hostage to a certain degree. That Delta Force mission was probably one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, ever heard of. Insane, amazing. Let's just watch.
So the Cubans were telling him, we need you to be a martyr. The socialism couldn't live with the idea of Nicolas Maduro fleeing. So they needed him to die as a martyr. Look, Salvador Allende, who died in Chile fighting Pinochet, he died, he allegedly shot himself. He didn't shoot himself. His Cuban bodyguards at the end shot him and then said he died fighting for the revolution, and that's what they were going to do with Nicolas Maduro. So this may have been a rescue mission. He could well have already negotiated, I'm going to give you everything. He does seem, in some of the close-up pictures, he seems
relieved. He seems very happy. No, that was my gut level this morning.
He looks like he's having the time of his life. He's going to have to spend maybe the rest of his life, maybe less, in a camp like in Allentown, Pennsylvania, growing tomatoes and living about like in a college dorm. But he's going to give up. He's going to give up the whole regime. I'll tell you what I know and what I hypothesize. What I know and what I've been told is that Delcy did drop a dime on him, and through the CIA, she's got CIA people around her, about where he would be that night. But another way of interpreting this, and I'm sure about the following: he did want to leave, and people have been up in America, in the U.S., saying, "Why does he leave? He's been offered Turkey."
He said he was ready to leave 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and the reason was, I think I came on your show and said this. I'm not sure. The reason was he couldn't leave. The Cubans around him.
No, you did say that.
Saying, we need you to do the Allende. You're going to die fighting for your country. The socialist myth cannot survive its leaders fleeing off to live in Turkey in an expensive resort with $250 million. So you're going to die defending your country. So if he'd even tried to drive from, I was told, and I know the people who literally trained Delta in the mock-up out in the swamp. They made a mock-up of the hideout, and some people who actually that know that area very well. So I know some people very inside this. They say that if he had tried to leave his palace, if he had said fine to the U.S. and tried to leave his palace and driven to the airport in Caracas, there's no way he would have survived.
They would have shot his plane down with a missile and said Trump did it.
They would have killed him. Venezuela is a mafia rather than a government. There's 3,000 people at the top of it who would have said, "You're going to leave us. We're all going to be hung from street lamps."
Where do you see this going? What are the pitfalls? Why is Trump talking about striking other countries? How does China and Russia respond? Does China use this model and go in and grab the leadership of Taiwan? Was a secret deal made with China and Russia? They can move into Ukraine, move into Taiwan, and Trump's going to move into Latin America and kick them out. What's really going on here? But the bigger question I want to get to is, obviously, because you're the one with the lawyers and people that got into their former intelligence heads and stuff that chronicled all this and predicted it, Maduro now in their hands for the Democrats and the deep state and the money laundering and the election machines, They've got to be really scared now, obviously, to get him to turn state's evidence and blow the whistle on the deep state. And Trump just bypasses the entire DOJ and just in this trial brings down the entire system. That's what I'm hearing is really going on. Patrick Byrne.
Well, great, a lot of points there and great points wrapped up. One, I don't think the Chinese have anywhere near the capability to pull off joint. They only really developed joint doctrine in the last 10 or 15 years, like getting the different pieces to work together. So they've got no demonstrated ability to do something like this. Secondly, you raise a very interesting point about Hugo Carvajal. You know, for the last couple of weeks, people were saying, why doesn't he just leave? The U.S. has been offering him all these great deals. We talked about it. I said he couldn't. It may be the case he can't leave. Remember, because he's protected by a bunch of Cubans. In fact, yesterday, Cuba came out and announced they had 32 Cubans killed defending Hugo Carvajal. His intelligence.
For people who don't know, explain who that is. People don't know the names.
I mean, not Hugo. I'm sorry, Maduro. They're in Venezuela. He was protected by Cuban bodyguards. His intelligence apparatus is Cuba. Think of this as communist, diehard Fidel Castro. His shadow is still, he put in place 65 years ago a Bolivarian revolution, ultimately to destroy the U.S. This is, Fidel Castro was like the father figure to Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez was a bastard, and Fidel sort of became his father. These guys, this is a Cuban operation. Cuba latched onto the wealth of Venezuela and exploited it. Again, it's all about overthrowing the U.S. So it could be Maduro could not have, if Maduro had tried to flee and get to the airport, he would have been killed before he got to the airport. So it's not entirely out of the question that some deal was even made beforehand, that Hugo said, well, if you can come in here and wipe out my security and get me out of here, I'll turn everything over to you. He's been offering for, now I'm not, it's either that or Delcy sold him out. I don't know. I've heard both versions of the story, but I think he's going to cooperate. I think guys like this aren't tough at all. He's probably trying to talk to people right now. If he's out of court, he's saying, I'll tell you everything. He's already come out and said, by the way, he said a year ago, when Trump was first in, look, the FBI, Biden told me to send you all these terrorists and killers. We met with them in Panama.
That's right. He already signaled. So really, this is face saving. I agree with that. His own people didn't know, but this extraction, I agree with that theory. I think that's where it's going, is he's about to turn state's evidence.
Oh, yeah. He's not tough. I do know that at Rikers Island, Hugo Carvajal, the military, the guy who made a proffer a month ago, the military intelligence general from Venezuela that we have in Rikers, he's P. Diddy's cellmate, first of all, and they spent the weekend arranging a welcoming party, literally a welcoming party of all for Maduro when he showed up. Yeah, I think that this is all about, he's going to turn state's evidence. He may have agreed to do it before this may have been a rescue from his point of view. See, the Cubans were telling him, we need you to be a martyr. The socialism couldn't live with the idea of Nicolas Maduro fleeing, so they needed him to die as a martyr. Look, Salvador Allende, who died in Chile fighting Pinochet, he died, he allegedly shot himself. He didn't shoot himself. His Cuban bodyguards at the end shot him and then said he died fighting for the revolution, and that's what they were going to do with Nicolas Maduro. So this may have been a rescue mission. He could well have already negotiated, I'm going to give you everything. He does seem, in some of the close-up pictures, he seems
relieved. He seems very happy. No, that was my gut level this morning.
He looks like he's having the time of his life. He's going to have to spend.
Okay, I'm stopping it real quick there because I think it's funny because I hear this over and over and over again. I heard this about like Saddam Hussein, like they didn't actually kill him, or he was taken to a very luxurious place to live out the rest of his days. Saddam Hussein is a little bit different because he was a CIA asset from the beginning, which is why the first Desert Storm was an absolute joke. Listen, I think it's sad that every generation we come around and, like I said, the brain drain issue is always such that there's obviously going to be a level of disrespect that is seen from an older generation to a younger generation. Like, hey, are you disrespecting what I've actually done, what my generation actually accomplished? Are you disrespecting what we've actually done? Um, maybe not. I don't know. Um, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying it from my perspective of what I see and the way I see it. Um, I think it's very important for everyone to take a step back, take a couple beats, and understand that even if this were some kind of negotiated rescue operation on behalf of Trump, I mean, good God, that makes Trump even more heroic in my estimation. But it does make sense because a lot of times what people don't understand about being a dictator or a king or heavy weighs the crown, my man. You are the center of attention in any court. And there's court intrigue all the time. All you got to do is look back into Europe, French courts, English courts, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Europe was, we have TV shows about this, all this stuff, Game of Thrones type of stuff. There is court intrigue, and everybody is trying to get after the king, get the king, take something from the king, steal from the king, lie to the king, whatever. And there's other adversaries, enemies that come from other nations that are in your court. Or maybe you wronged somebody on the way to becoming king and now they want revenge. Heavy weighs the crown. And so if you're a king of a narco terror state where there's even less rule of law, there's even less organization, there's even less structure, yeah, the threat of violence is even more apparent. It's even more obvious. It's even more blatantly there and palpable for someone like a Maduro. So it doesn't really surprise me. Most of these guys who take over, they like, oh, in their biographies and documentaries, they were the most bloodthirstiest person of all time. It's like, bro, maybe they had to be because the thing that they wanted, the power, the money, the status, whatever, it requires doing that. Now, luckily, we live in a fucking advanced nation, one of the best in the world, with rule of law, with a constitution, with one of the best systems ever created, where we don't need to necessarily stoop to those levels most of the time. Like, now things happen behind closed doors, and it's spilling out into the public eye now because we're living in that time. Like, that's, there was one group of ruling political elites, and now they're falling, and they're faltering, and they're collapsing, and they're crumbling. And so now we have a new group of ruling elites that are on the rise, the Trumpian group of ruling elites in politics that are on the rise. And that changeover is not going to be handed over peacefully, right? It's because one group was doing things that were screwing over this nation, and the other group has to prove that they're not screwing over this nation. Otherwise, the takeover or the switching, the changing of the guard won't last very long. And so I believe this. I believe this very much. I do. I really do. Oh my God. That is wild. Okay. I believe it. I really do. It sounds plausible that this could have been some kind of a rescue mission. It really does. It really does sound plausible. But not just because, oh, Maduro, no. It sounds very plausible because that's the way the world tends to work. Okay, hold on. We got to bring our screen back here. I hate this, dude. It's like I need to figure out how to make it so it doesn't do that every single time. It's like the biggest pain in the nuts. All right, but we're going to let him continue talking. All right.
And maybe the rest of his life, maybe less, in a place in a camp like in Allentown, Pennsylvania, growing tomatoes and living about like in a college dorm. But he's going to give up. They're going to give up. He's going to give up the whole regime. But what you raise a great point. I don't think this should stay in the DOJ. This is a national security matter. This is why we wrote the laws. This guy should be taken over by the Department of Defense, which has a whole different set of laws about what they can and can't do. Everything should be constitutional and legal. But this isn't just arresting a criminal. This is a guy who's been running, he's been part of a war. Americans don't even understand this kind of war. But this is an enemy combatant that we captured and need to treat like we captured Himmler during the war. We need to find out what he knows.
100%, because they're not, he was already wanting to leave, and Trump had a deal, but then he couldn't leave. Obviously, they weren't going to let him leave. All the evidence points towards that. And so, hell, he might have texted and asked, said where he was so they'd know. Because he looks in the videos, I mean, body language doesn't lie. It's all the videos. He looks relieved.
Yeah, he thought he was never going to get out of there alive. We know the Cubans were telling him, you can't leave. You've got to die fighting as a patriot for your country, Venezuela. Then they can paint him on the billboards. Then they can make another.
Just like when it's all Fidel's ideas. Say what you want, it's super smart. Oh, Che Guevara's getting too big for his britches. Send him to South America, then get him killed, then make him a martyr.
Che Guevara was like in touch with. Che Guevara was sold out by Fidel Castro. I forget if that's even been declassified, but I know that from some people involved. Fidel was scared of the man was becoming a myth, a challenge to Fidel. Fidel sold him out to the CIA, and the Green Berets killed him. It was all set up. So but they need to make. So then they made this big martyr out of him. I think that the plan for Maduro, things did not look good for him a couple of weeks ago, and he found by hook or by crook, he's out of it, whether it was planned or he just.
Yeah, well, this is a global exclusive. I was already thinking this last night and this morning, watching the videos, the body language. Other people saw it too. They go, what, is this staged? He looks, no, it wasn't staged, the rescue. They were holding him to make him a martyr. He'd already said the deal was made. Had been reported twice to leave, but he couldn't. Obviously, they're not going to let him leave because they wanted to push Trump into a full invasion. Instead, Trump did the limited action. I got to say, really gracefully done. And from my sources, now you've got yours, he's going to sing like a canary. And now that you just laid those other pieces out, there's our headline. Global exclusive. President Trump launched mission in Caracas to save Maduro from Cuban intelligence forces working for China. Or how do we say that? Because that's it. You know, global exclusive. Trump's U.S. military raid in Venezuela was really an operation to extract and save Nicolas Maduro to be a witness against the globalists. I mean, it's so true. That's obviously it.
Well, I think that's right. I think you should take note. It sounds like you didn't even. But yesterday or last night, I think it was, Cuba came out. Cuba had a day of mourning for the 32 Cuban patriots who died defending Maduro. There's a reason that was his bodyguard. That was his. So we had
and
to.
You saw the dictator say we're ready to pay in blood of Cuba.
I think we're ready. Maduro knows all the secrets. Venezuela has been a key component of the whole Chinese, Iran, Russia program against us, especially Chinese and Iran. They know it's really, think of it as Cuba, Venezuela. Joe McCarthy is going to turn out to have been correct. We were penetrated by a bunch of communist spies who work for Cuba and Venezuela. Incidentally, when you spy for Cuba, you don't get paid. The only people they take to spy for them are diehard, ideologically committed people. So we know they've got, we know of 25 spies within the American government. Some have already been arrested. Some are going to be arrested, but Maduro's going to give their names too. That's how.
And by the way, Patrick, people that don't know you, I've known you for a long time, but I always knew you were credible. But everything you've said is batting 1,000. You're the real deal, CIA.
See, this is why, and I will say this. This is why I think Marco Rubio will be the next president of the United States, not J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance is a ploy to wear off all of MAGA's. It's like blow off some steam, go take all your shots at this guy. It was a nice little idea that maybe we could do this and whatever. The only thing is I don't know who Marco Rubio's wife is. I don't know. I don't know. Marco Rubio's wife, okay. Oh, okay. She's kind of cute. Let's see. Let's look at images. Jeanette Dubsebe. I can't even say that. Jeanette Rubio. Yep. Let's just go with that. Okay. Oh, dude, she's kind of a fox. She's kind of hot. Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's what I was like. I don't know who his wife is. Long unseen presence in his career. Wow. Okay. Listen, I personally let's look at the Wikipedia. It says early life and education. Hispanic from Colombia, 6 years old. What? Wait, what is that? Jeanette was born in Florida to Hispanic parents who had immigrated from Colombia when she was. Oh, okay. Period. When she was 6, her parents divorced. Jeanette was raised Roman Catholic. Attended. Okay. She was a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. Okay, hey man, do your thing, bro. Do your thing. Do your thing. do your do your thug thistle. Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah. This is why I think Marco Rubio is actually going to be the 48th president of the United States. I don't think JD Vance is going to do it. I don't think he can pull it off. And this next move that they're going to do, they're talking about, oh, Cuba's next, Colombia's next. And let me tell you this. I said this, Hotep Jesus said, oh, I don't think it's going to take 6 years. They're going to be doing this for 5 or 6 years. The only reason why I disagreed with Hotep was because I'm like, the purpose is not to get entrenched into a long-term war. If that was the purpose, that's what they would do. If Dick Cheney was in office, if he was the VP and we had George W. Bush, that's what would happen. We would be in South America for the next 15 freaking years. That is not the goal and the purpose. As we've clearly seen, not only did the Trump administration have a finger on the pulse in terms of the intelligence, so like is just being talked about right here, this guy's saying Cuban intelligence, Cubans were the bodyguards for Maduro, keeping him in place and in line because if something happened, okay, we're just going to off you and blame Trump and make it like a big disaster. And which is like, oh my God. like people do not understand the extent to which this is masterfully being done. I look at all these people complaining, even people on the right, Republicans. It's so easy. It's so easy to sit here and criticize Trump with all the old rhetoric of, and it's like libertarian rhetoric, which is like harder to discern and decipher and to see. But it's like, yes, we should believe in our Constitution and the Republic and doing things the right, fair way. But dude, we are in the midst of a global war right now. And you can't see it because it's only happening on an economic front. It's only happening on a financial front. It's only happening on a information, internet warfare, cyber war. It's not happening out in the open with people moving tanks across battlefields. That's not what's happening right this second. It probably will when China goes kinetic with us, probably in the 2030s or the 2040s or something like that, maybe. But by that time, the robots will be fighting. And so I know that sounds absolutely insane, but this is the Cold War, continued, redo, right? And so what people don't understand of what's happening, and so this is why we're like, oh, Thomas Massie is so great by opposing Trump. We have people in the Republican Party, and I'm not like listen, I step back every now and again and I go, is Trump good? Is Trump bad? What's Trump doing? What's he about? What's going on? I do that. I step back every now and then and I try to figure out what's going on because I'm a thinking person. I don't just stick to one thing and just plow through that from now until eternity. I know people can get into the office of the presidency and completely change. I understand that. However, I know that is not really going to be the case with Trump because Most people who seek the presidency would never continue to try to be in the presidency after, number one, having the election stolen from them, which is the Venezuela thing with Smartmatic. That's the other reason why. And number two, after being shot at and nearly killed. So many people would just go, oh, I'm suspending my campaign. So many people. So many people. Not only once, but twice on his own golf course, somebody tried to take him out. So let's understand this. And then that guy from the golf course had ties to the Ukrainians. What is that about? So let's take a step back and let's start to understand that what's happening here is far more complicated and complex. So not only did Trump's administration have the intelligence, the army, General Raising Cane, not only did they have the intelligence to understand that they were doing Maduro a favor by getting him out of there. Not only did they understand that, they executed it perfectly where they could not take Maduro out preemptively and make Trump look like an idiot and have the administration with egg on their face. Imagine that. Imagine the news, this news media, CNN, the left-wing media, MSNBC. Imagine them talking about, oh, well, Trump, they tried to do an extraction. They tried to, and Maduro got killed. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, this administration is so terrible. Aren't they terrible? By the grace of God, this was done smoothly, executed almost perfectly to the T. Nobody got killed on our side. Maduro didn't get killed. We brought him back, arrested him. He's alive. He's facing judgment. He's facing trial. He's facing prison. And listen, it could be more complicated than, oh, Maduro's going to be on our side. Of course, there's going to be some bumps along the way because that's how this works. These people are seeking to get the best deal for themselves. Maduro and his wife are going to try to get the best deal for themselves. And the United States is going to try to get what we need from them in terms of turning over that state's evidence, to know about what happened in the 2020 election, to know about Smartmatic, to know about what China's doing, to know about what Russia's doing, to know about what Iran is doing, even though it would be immensely beneficial for Russia and America to get along and cooperate with one another. Even when you cooperate, you have to be skeptical of your allies when they're another nation and they have their own needs and their own desires and their own wants. And so we're going to get back to the video in a second, but I just wanted to point that out. This is why I also believe that Marco Rubio will be the next president, not J.D. freaking Vance. Okay. Marco is being groomed to be a Trump successor. When you even look at Trump and Rubio together, it seems like Trump likes Marco Rubio way more than he likes JD Vance. Like, they don't even seem like they really gel, JD and Trump. He seems like, oh, yeah, JD, yeah, he's great, whatever. But he seems like Marco is really the true successor, because look at everything Marco was doing. Look at how deeply he's involved and engaged with the strategy. It doesn't even seem like JD is even super engaged with the strategy that they're taking on to execute the real Trump doctrine, the Don Road doctrine. I mean, just look at it. How far away is JD from the Don Road doctrine right now? It's a very traditional relationship between the president and the vice president, what you're seeing right now. And from what I can tell from JD Vance is he's going out and he does some diplomacy here and there and whatever, but it's like he's really being kept at an arm's length on the most important aspects, which is very interesting because JD was allegedly, he's a Marine, he's all that stuff. I mean, he was a JAG, so but he was a Marine, so he you would think he'd be more engaged with some of this military stuff, but I don't know. But in my opinion, I think Marco is going to be the one, because they're going to go through South America. And this is what I was saying before. I disagreed with Hotep Jesus, because the goal is to clear out South America for American imperialism so that we own this region lock, stock, and barrel. We cannot have external interference from foreign people, foreign superpowers meddling over here to the degree in which it destabilizes this area and seeps into America. We've seen that we've had these Venezuelan gang members, not the regular, refugee Venezuela people that have come here to try to make a better life. The gang members come into this country and create chaos. We've seen the gang members from all over South America and Central America come here to create chaos. How do you make that right? Well, you have to stabilize these regions, which is why I also believe what they're saying is, at least their intention is 100% factual and true. Listen, you have to have American interests down there. People got to make money. You think you're going to have people invest their time, their energy, move their families, probably for 2 generations, to move down to South America, and no one's going to make money? Like, nobody's going to make money. So people are all like, oh my God, the bankers and the oil companies are going to... Yeah, listen, the CIA started this nonsense. And, you're putting countries in debt to make them debt slaves. That's not right. And you're taking over their trajectory of their nations. Not okay. Okay. But let's put it like this. If you did not have taken interest in what was happening around you, okay, it's like living in a neighborhood and all the houses around you, you're not going to go around and pay off the debt or the mortgages of all the houses around you so that now the people who live in those houses owe you money. That would be a little shady. That would be a little nefarious. You'd be trying to get those people under your thumb. But it would be good if you saw that, hey, this house has some problems here. Let me, step up. And that kid has some behavioral, problems. Let me, step up and be the man on the block, and then try to, spend some time with that kid, a couple hours a week or whatever, be a father to him because he's being raised by a single mother right now. Let me step up and do that. The kid that lives right down the street. Oh, there's an old lady that lives across the street from me. She can't water her garden, or she can't, mow her lawn. Let me do that for her once a week or once a month or whatever, however many times. Taking an interest in where you are. And yes, there has to be a benefit for you. Now, in this analogy, in this example, the benefit for you is going to be living in a better neighborhood and having people like you and be well liked and respected. Sure, got it. In this analogy, because you need partners to help you do it, those partners, like Trump doesn't know how to pump gas and drill for oil and do all that stuff by himself. He doesn't know how to do that. You need the experts to come in and do it and handle that. And yes, people are going to make lots of money. Lots of money. But guess what? When people make lots of real money because we're building real things and we have real infrastructure and we have real stakes somewhere, this is the problem, dude. We have been so removed from real wealth for about 30 or 40 years. Real wealth, real American wealth building. And it's because of the wokeism. It's because of the political correctness. It's because a lot of corruption happened. And so that corruption needed to be pulled and scaled back, but we became ashamed of American industry and might. And yes, this empire has been an empire. It's going to continue to be an empire, and it's probably going to become a bigger empire because Trump is not ashamed of that word. He's not ashamed. And we shouldn't be ashamed of it either, because what is being created over in China is an empire. They want an empire too. This is what I mean. Like, we are literally engaged in a cold war and a soft war. And people are acting like this is a normal state of the world right now. It's not. It just seems that way because there aren't bombs flying everywhere. Because it's not an open declaration like World War II and we got to fight the Nazis and all that. No. It's still the same type of thing. It's still going on. So Venezuela has a lot of natural rare earth minerals. That's going to help us and benefit us as well. But by keeping it locked up in this communist bloc where it can't even be utilized, being run by Russia, China, Iran, and this conglomerate of, thugs that are terror organizations, terror cells, and narco terrorists and drug organizations. What is the better solution? Us taking advantage of it, running it, and at least those people having a better, dude, I saw a video today where the petrodollar is being utilized in Venezuela, those people are going to become wealthy overnight. I saw a chart of the Venezuelan stock market. It just went straight up. And people are sitting here trying to tell me that, oh, no, the Venezuelan people didn't want this. Are you out of your mind? A few years ago, they were eating the cats and the dogs on the streets. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. A few years ago, that's what they were doing. Now their stock market just headed like clean up, like on a steep, just up after this happened. And Trump announced, hey, we're going to bring in the oil companies. We're going to bring in the energy companies. We're going to, dude, the stock went through the roof. Their money is about to be worth something. Guess what? It's probably going to be a place to vacation for Americans in 5 years. So I don't buy in all that crap. Anyway, back to the video.
Hey, all that. You helped dispose of deep state, help Trump get in.
I wouldn't say that.
But you already said it the other day. Sorry, the point is that we're going to come back. Because that's it. That's why Maduro's so happy. He tried to get out. He tried to take the deal. They wouldn't let him. This was a rescue mission. When you look at all the photos and videos of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, when they get him up out of the armored vehicle at one point, and he's so tall, it's painful, he gets up, and then his wife walks through like she is just so pleased, smiling at everybody, so happy. All the photos he's posing with day after day, doing the victory sign. They were never going to let him leave. He reportedly had a deal with Trump, was going to leave a couple places in Europe. Didn't happen because they're not going to let you leave. They want to make him a martyr. They want to elicit the U.S. coming in full bore. That's what China wants. But instead, it all points towards that. It actually being a rescue mission so that he can then turn state's evidence against the Democrats on the Smartmatic, on the money laundering, on the drug dealing, on all. For those who don't know, it's a historic fact. When Rubio talks about the media, he's like, why does he say that? Cuba's the real brain trust, trained by the Russians, all the rest of it, now the Chinese. It's been backing up, backstopping Venezuela. It's been the real muscle. And then under Venezuela is Mexico. And so why wouldn't he leave? Because they weren't going to let him leave. And now that makes absolute perfect sense. I was already thinking that, was going to ask you that when you said, a real Venezuela expert, that that's what things are leaning towards, or that his vice president sold him out. And she may have done that, rhetorically or whatever. But this is a big deal. Let's elaborate on that, Patrick Byrne.
Okay. Well, there's two. I'll tell you what I know and what I hypothesize. What I know and what I've been told is that Delcy did drop a dime on him, and through the CIA, she's got CIA people around her, about where he would be that night. But another way of interpreting this, and I'm sure about the following: he did want to leave. And people have been up in America, in the U.S. saying, why does he leave? He's been offered Turkey.
He said he was ready to leave 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and the reason was, I think I came on your show and said this, I'm not sure. The reason was he couldn't leave. The Cubans around him
no, you did say that.
Saying, we need you to do the Allende. You're going to die fighting for your country. The socialist myth cannot survive its leaders fleeing off to live in Turkey in an expensive resort with $250 million. So you're going to die defending your country. So if he'd even tried to drive from, I was told, and I know the people who literally trained Delta in the mock-up out in the swamp. They made a mock-up of the hideout, and some people who actually that know that area very well. So I know some people very inside this. They say that if he had tried to leave his palace, if he had said fine to the U.S. and tried to leave his palace and driven to the airport in Caracas, there's no way he would have survived.
They would have shot his plane down with a missile and said Trump did it. They
would have killed him. Venezuela is a mafia rather than a government. There's 3,000 people at the top of it who would have said, you're going to leave us, we're all going to be hung from street lamps.
And by the way, they said that in their news when he was trying to leave. They said, what? You're going to leave us? They were trying to all get money too and get out.
So, and for me, I would have taken it, but Trump drives. I don't know why he didn't let the top 1,000 people flee. But anyway, it is possible. We look at what happened. Now, Maduro could not have let his own bodyguards in on it because they're Cubans. They wouldn't have gone along with it. So they had to do they had to take the deep plunge. So it's possible that Maduro communicated to the U.S., if you can shoot your way in here and get me out of here, I'll give you everything. And so the U.S. goes in. We killed yesterday. Cuba announced a day of mourning for the 32 Cuban bodyguards around Hugo. And by the way, the intelligence apparatus is also designed and staffed by Cubans too, largely. Is Cuban intelligence is so powerful in the U.S. too. So it's possible what really happened was, from Maduro's point of view, a rescue mission. Not that it made it any easier for our Delta, because his bodyguards would not have known that. And our Delta folks really did have to gun in. And the 160th of these badass helicopter pilots really did have to go schwack his bodyguard, but I mean, his whole retinue and everything. But it meant that when they got to Maduro, for all we know, his attitude was, he was released. He's relieved, but we don't know that for a fact. It could have been the other way, but I'd say 50-50 based on what I know, that this was this was actually kind of from Maduro's point of view, a great successful rescue.
RFK Jr. shocked many when he sat down for a meal with Fox's Sean Hannity. The pair dined at fast food chain.
All right. So, yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. It pretty much sums it up. I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was something that we should probably look at, talk about, think about. There's so many different angles to this situation. For one, I think the older that I get, the less resistant I am to pro-America propaganda. I was raised in that time. I was a teenager roughly when all that, weaponized patriotism was put into place under the Bush 2 administration. And I thought it was an absolute joke. I thought it was a horrid thing, because I was very much so aware that, I mean, how in the world could that have even happened? Right? How in the world could that have even happened? And then we find out later that Dick Cheney tells NORAD to stand down. They could have shot those planes down. Those planes down. They didn't do it. Why? Why would they want that? And then you find out Larry Silverstein, just a few days before, insured the buildings for, a couple $1 billion, and then you look at Building 7 and how that just, fell on its own, like, just, because of fires. It wasn't hit or anything, just, So when I saw the patriotism being weaponized to try to push us into war in the Middle East, and not even for oil, gas prices were going up back then. Not even for oil. I get why so many young people who maybe lived through that, or maybe they didn't live through that, are reminiscing, or they're concerned about the patriotism. They're concerned about this, but these situations are totally different. Totally different situations, man. You're not trying to promote patriotism to get people to back a war. Nobody's going to back a damn thing Trump does. Period. The media is always going to attack what Trump does. Period. So that's not the point. The patriotism really does come from a real feeling that, oh my God, we're back. We're doing great things. We're kicking ass. We're taking names. Amazing. We're doing amazing stuff. That's where it legitimately comes from. Legitimately. All right. So, wow. Okay. So,
build a website you.
Okay, we're gonna pause that for a second. Now I want to look at this video where we're talking about, because this is what everybody was also complaining about. They were saying, well, how come we could go and get Maduro, but we can't stop anything happening in this country? Listen, I don't know about you, but I think it is very vitally imperative to ensure that your elections are intact. And if all of our election machines have back doors to Venezuela that's being controlled by the Chicoms, the communists, the dictator of Venezuela, people who are shipping fentanyl in here, just people who hate our freaking guts. Okay. I don't even understand how Trump won the 2024 election other than the fact that they had like an army of lawyers that hit every single counting facility to prevent fraud. That's the only thing that I could see that's the only reason why they won. They had an army of lawyers in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and all these different states to go into these big facilities where they brought in the ballots to count them all and everything like that. And they made sure that no shenanigans were going on. And they, even on the night of the election, I saw the vans, the trucks that were trying to bring in pallets, and they were like, dude, turn around. Yeah, don't bring those don't bring the ballots in this way. They were trying to bring ballots in through the back door, through all these different trucks, and they didn't show it. They didn't talk about it, but they were like little clips that you would see on the news where they were like turning those trucks away because it was that BS that they tried to pull in the 2020 election with the boxes of ballots overnight, just randomly being brought in and just being counted at the last minute. And now we see Georgia admitted that there was election fraud. Georgia admitted that there was over 200,000 ballots that were totally fake, totally false. And people from Georgia are starting to be prosecuted for their crimes. We're seeing that now. I mean, even though there was complete and utter total evidence of two black ladies who were super low level, they didn't know what they were doing. Somebody was probably giving them $500 to do what they were doing, to stuff ballots and have their minions there stuffing ballots. They were low level. But even though we had that evidence, you still had people who were like, man, that's not fraud. We literally had them on camera doing it. And that's why people were running around for years saying, oh, I saw it. And then the mainstream media gaslights us into believing that, no, you didn't see that. Stop being racist against those black women, Like, I don't blame those black ladies, They're Democrats. They don't know what's really legal and illegal. They're just volunteering. And somebody's like, hey, man, I'll slip you, $500 if you, give $500 to everybody in here and, count a little bit more for Joe, I don't really blame those ladies. I don't think that they're the worst evil of all time. It's not how I perceive it. Oh, so now we're going to go and watch this video. Let me make this big. You. Oops. Muted it.
For blue states over concerns that the White House is cutting off $10 billion in social services and child care funding for blue states over concerns that the benefits were fraudulently sent to non-citizens. The move affects California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. President Trump saying on Truth Social that a fraud investigation into California has begun, writing California under Governor Gavin Newsom is more corrupt than Minnesota.
I'm sorry.
If that's possible. So, Taylor, California features prominently in this story. I'll come to you
so
first.
does your Minnesota.
Now, it does indeed.
So does New York.
I admit, New York. We're all implicated
We're all in
here.
it.
Now, Taylor, this is Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a New York senator. She says the following. She says, to use the power of the government to harm the neediest Americans is immoral and indefensible. President Trump should not be doing.
Dude, this is what I'm saying. People were like, oh my God, Trump and the Trump administration is not doing anything. Bro, this is, what are you talking about? What are we looking at right now? What are we looking at right now? We're looking at the Trump administration doing something. We're looking at the Trump administration doing something. Wake up. I mean, I swear, but this is how the Democrats, dude, The Democrats, somewhere along the lines, maybe 50 years ago, figured out this scheme. Actually, I think we know exactly when it was when it happened. The Great Society it's a fraudulent scheme. It's a fraud scheme. What they do is they find the most teary-eyed, compassionate thing. They sell the public on making it a taxpayer-funded program because no child should be. And then, I mean, they obviously did not used to engage in the fraud to this degree. But now they've just engaged in the fraud to such a level where it is like, it's just not even like real anymore. You can't like, you have to be skeptical of some of the most well-meaning programs at this point. I mean, the teachers union in 2020 was utilized as a money laundering, allegedly, for the Democrat Party. I mean, billions of dollars stolen from the teachers union to finance the Democrat Party. This is why you're looking at the Democrat Party now, and they're bankrupt, and they're losing all their funding, and they're losing all the people who usually donate to them, because it's coming out. This is a completely fraudulent organization. My what is it called? I was going to say prophecy. No, it's not. My prediction is that the Democrat Party, unless they make a deal and turn their crap around and get on board and start helping us fight China and our actual adversaries, if they don't do that, the Democrat Party will cease to exist. It will be a thing of the past, and the new party will be something akin to the Libertarian Party. I really hope it is the Libertarian Party, because you're going to need some kind of check against this automated AI system that is going to rule and control all of our lives. So you're going to need some group of people that get together and say, hey, what about the individual human? What about the individual liberties of the individual? I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But if the Democrats don't ship up, if they don't get their shit together, then they're going to go the way of the dinosaur. Okay. Let's continue. But like I said, the teachers unions, now we're finding out it's the daycares, it's the healthcare fraud, it's the welfare fraud, it's giving it all to the immigrants, it's buying voters. This was their plan to live on into the 21st century, even though they knew they had defrauded the American people with Barack Obama. They knew that they defrauded us. They sold us a bill of goods, and they knew they couldn't deliver. And when they couldn't deliver, they were like, well, we need to get illegal immigrant. We need to get people from outside the country to change the demographics. Remember, they were saying demographics is destiny. Remember that? They were saying that all the time. They were playing in your face. They were playing in our faces saying demographics is destiny. Do you remember that? Now they don't dare say it because we've caught on. They're like, oh no, we were just kind of joking, you know? Now, because we know that you were sucking up all of our taxpayers, which is amazing. It's amazing this country is even still functioning to me. It's like amazing. Is it not fascinating? Is it not fascinating to every single person that this country is even functioning with the amount of money that they've stolen from us? Is that not like the most amazing, fascinating? Like, it's just like, whoa, dude, how rich are we as a country where we're like actually still functional? Like almost every other country in the world, if you were stealing the amount of money that the Democrats were stealing through all these different schemes, through the USAID, through this daycare fraud with Minneapolis and Somalis and the teachers union, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars being stolen just through these taxpayer funded things, bro. It's like any other country in the world would be totally destitute, and we are still functioning here on a high level. Like, yes, our cities are starting to crumble. Yes, things are starting to go bad. Yes, things are not as good as they could be, but I mean, good God, we're not having blackouts every day. Any other country in the world would be having blackouts every goddamn day. This is it's just like crazy. This is why it's like you look at these communist countries and they they can't support themselves because they didn't even have the first of all, they didn't have the foundation that our founders gave to us with the Constitution. They didn't have the amazing geographical destination location for pure destiny, like just pure manifest destiny. They didn't have that either. But then on top of that, they had all these commies stealing every fucking thing. This is why it's like you look at Cuba, I'm like, you don't have any real natural resources, and then you're just also stealing everything from everybody. So countries like that, yeah, they collapse. They turn into crap. It's amazing that we're still functioning. And this has been going on for decades. Most countries couldn't handle 10 years of this level of fraud and theft. Could not tolerate it. I'm like, dude, that alone should make you pro-America. Just like, wow, this is a fucking amazing place. We're living on the best country on earth.
This, in her view, how do you respond?
This is my version of Doge. So if Doge was sort of scaled back last year when Elon Musk left and went back to his businesses, this is the sort of second iteration of Doge. It is harmful, as Dagan has often pointed out, to continue sending money because it is wasteful and takes away from the people who really need it if it goes to fraudulent corporations or whatever we'll call them. So I like this because I think this is the great scam. I think where there's one cockroach, there's usually 100. Let's find them. And then this will be sort of our version of Doge that I hope is more lasting than the actual Doge program.
So I'm going to throw this to you, Dagan, and I'm just going to add a layer to it if you want to engage. Why do we spend federal money on child care services? Should that not be purely a function of the states if they choose to spend money that way?
Do you really want me to go there?
Well, I mean, if you're motivated to.
It's the children, Brian.
I don't think about the children. I do not think about the children.
Why did the federal taxpayer put $1,000 into investment accounts for children? It's the same reason. It's unnecessary spending, and we have this idea that money grows on trees when it comes.
I mean, she's exactly right. She's 100% correct. We have a certain level of compassion in this country bred out of our abundance that I don't think we should get rid of. I think it's good. But when you have that level of compassion, you also have to have an equal level of intelligence so that you're not just some bleeding heart giving away everything you got everywhere you go. Look at any lottery winner, and 90% of them are broke within a few years because number one, they've never managed that much money in their lifetime. They don't really know how much they actually have. And then number two, they're always giving it away to people. Any person that comes along with a sob story, you have to be disciplined with your money. You kind of got to be an asshole. We have Trump for a reason. And I love that Trump's an asshole because there's a lot of people out here who can't say no. And I think Trump behind the scenes is probably a really nice person, but the public persona is that he's an asshole. Inversely, you have Obama, whose public persona is, he's just like the sweetest guy. He's just like, oh my God, he's like a teddy bear. It's like, I just want to take him home. Behind the scenes, he's probably a fucking monster, especially if your wife can't stand you and gets on podcasts all the time talking about how you're like the worst person ever. And she doesn't even see eye to eye with you. She can't stand you. I mean, that should tell you something. But anyway, she's right on that fact. And this is why the left needed to be defeated. This is why the Democrats needed to be defeated. They needed to be taken out because their rhetoric, number one, it wasn't only false and faulty. It wasn't only a lie. It wasn't only just a bogus scam. It was a scam that preyed upon people with such low, such a low understanding of how the real grittiness of the world works. Like and the thing about it is not only does it preys upon the youth, it preys upon the youngest, while simultaneously stealing the future of the youth. So the youth are convinced that this is a great thing that we should be getting engaged in. We should be giving this. We should be giving that. We should be having this. We should be having that. They love the rhetoric. The rhetoric fits most young people in their teens, their 20s. They're the ones who think the world could just be a better place if we just changed things and did them a little differently. Oh, yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, they're the ones whose future is being sold down the river for these compassion projects that end up turning out to be absolute frauds. Absolute frauds.
Comes to spending on the kiddos and child, having children, families, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, but this goes beyond that.
No, but it's
fraud.
why he asked me, what was his question? Repeat it. Repeat it back to me. I know, because you weren't
This is your listening test, Charlie.
Because you weren't listening.
No, my point is...
No, I want to finish my point.
No, we could sit here and talk about the children all
Well,
day.
he asked me about child care.
I did ask her about that. Now let Dagan finish her thought.
eye.
Let her finish her thought, and then Charlie, I will come right to you.
Because it's the children. That's why. and the hacks who are in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party won't say no to anything if it's going to the children. And it's the same, and it's the same logic that Kirsten Gillibrand uses. It's like, oh, it goes to the needy. Well, actually, it doesn't wind up going to the needy because it goes to illegal aliens and fraudsters, con artists, criminals, and grifters. Well, that's where the money goes.
The Republicans would be idiotic to make this about the children, to get in this children debate, saying, let's get in a philosophical debate. Should federal money be used for child care service, whatever? That's a loser every time. Where they were on really good ground is why Tim Walz is not running for re-election, is on fraud. And stick to fraud, because all these programs, they're on autopilot, and the money just keeps coming and coming. And when that happens, it is a recipe for fraud, and they're going to find it everywhere. They're going to find it in New York. They're going to find it, they already found it in your home state.
Mm-hmm. But that's the nature of federal money.
I know,
the nature of federal money is autopilot money.
But as a political matter, I think you stick to the fraud, because the fraud stuff is really bad. I don't think the average American would say, okay, well if there's not fraud involved, should my taxpayer money be going to help?
Right.
That's what I just said. I think we should maintain our empathy, our sympathy, our compassion in this country. We should maintain that. That should be something that we strive for. The whole point of America is to strive for this greatness. Is to, with every passing century, we become a better species. We shouldn't throw that out because, oh my God, there's a few bad apples that are sitting there abusing our system. Because most Americans aren't even thinking about doing this. Listen, if I had known that this was what people were doing 15 years ago, hey, you might have found me on there with them Somalis. But they don't let you know that because it's an internal scam. It's organized crime. They won't let you in it. They won't let you onto it. And this is the funniest thing. Because I'm an American, because I care about my own country, because I care about, I wouldn't have been running a scam. What I'm trying to say is, if I would have known 10 years ago that they're giving out federal funding for you opening up a daycare, I would have opened up a daycare and I would have actually run a daycare. I would have actually hired people, had kids there, and ran a damn good daycare. If I would known that they were giving money to help people start these things and fund them, are you kidding me? I would have totally done that. I didn't know that they were giving money to people to do this. Like every other American, because you're taught this thing, like, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're not also taught simultaneously, there's a lot of different funding and grants and programs that help you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I know this now as a grown person. I didn't know it when I was younger. If I'd have known that, I probably would have started a damn daycare. But it would have actually had kids in it. And we would have protected those kids and done right by those kids and done right by those families and actually ran a damn good daycare because I care about my community. What you have here, the problem is the reason why it's fraud and it's a scam is because these people don't give a damn about the social welfare of their community, and they're just robbing it blind. They're stealing the resources when people could actually be utilizing those resources. Actual Americans. And that's what drives me crazy about the left's propaganda with this. They've mind controlled everybody to such a point where any attack on anyone whose skin color is lighter than this table, I mean darker than this table, it's racism. It's racism. It's complete and utter racism. If it's darker than the table, it's racism. It's unbelievable. It's a total fraud. It's a total joke. It's a total scam. That's the scam. That's the fraud. That's the fraud, because they don't put it back into the system. You're not contributing back. If you're given, you give. You're given, you give. You don't take and steal and then go buy yourself a fucking Maserati and go back to Africa on vacation and buy 2 more slave wives. That's what we don't like. And please don't tell me that because I'm black, I need to sign up for this as well. Because I'm black, I need to be on this train with you. Are you kidding me? Those Somalians don't give a damn about me. They don't like me. They think I'm an idiot. They can't stand black people in this country.
There's fraud in Medicare,
Right.
Medicaid,
Right.
Social
Right,
Security.
right. But there's a lot of fraud
SBA.
here.
If money is going out,
Federal.
right? But if money is going out,
Right.
it is being stolen.
The American
And
people
we
are never
don't-
going to stop money going to children. Okay, now
That's my
they're never
well,
they're never going to do it, and maybe they shouldn't.
I'm
just saying.
we're
the bigger-
sending
let me,
more
let
of
me
it.
finish what I'm going to say. Okay, what they should stop is fraud. Okay, and that once you stop the fraud, or at least clamp it down, obviously it's not that hard to find. Look what's going on in Minnesota. Like a kid with a camera found it last week. I mean, what's his name? Nick Shirley just walks in and says, there's no people here in this place, and this is funded with federal money. I think when you stick to that, this is a winning
My
issue.
point is, you will never stop the fraud. We don't stop the fraud. We need to stop the spending. That's the only way to fight fraud, is not.
What this lady's saying is absolutely retarded. This lady's she says the most stupidest things of all time, all the time. But every society throughout human history, you cannot find a single period in human history where there was not a certain level of corruption. If you're so idiotic where you think you're going to get rid of corruption and it's going to be at absolute zero, then what you're talking about is a civilization that's absolutely run by AI and robots. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about a civilization where there's no freedom. There will always be a certain level of corruption, because you can give you like the smallest fucking example of all time. I mean, this has been done several times. I can't think of one right now, but there's like tiny little examples of things where like there's like a law that's passed that, or there's a law in the books from like 200 years ago, and people, get, there's like an ordinance or something, or there's some type of thing, or if you live in an HOA and they get on your case about something and they fine you, and they fine you because they just don't like you. It's like that's corruption. Or if you go to your HOA board and you bake them a cake and you sweeten them up a little bit, and then they approve something that you want to do, that's a certain level of corruption. If everything was done absolutely on the level, absolutely like just based on merit, oh, that'd be great. That's a utopian society. However, that never occurs. But it's what level of corruption can a society tolerate? So when we look at like organized crime, the mafia, like we're talking about like the stereotypical Italian mafia or something like that, there was a certain point in time where the mafia, without the mafia, the shit didn't run. Nothing happened, right? So like World War II, the mafia protected the docks in New York City. During Prohibition, people were able to get their alcohol and things of that nature. That's why we talk about making things illegal versus keeping them legal, or legalizing them or decriminalizing them, so that you can lower the crime rates. Because anytime there's a vast amount of money there, you're going to need people to protect that money. When you have people to protect that money, you're going to have people with guns. People who are protecting illegal things probably going to have illegal guns. And then they're going to get into problems with that. So that's a whole nother issue. That's a level of corruption. You had cops that were being bought off and bribed back then. but it reached such a level of corruption that was intolerable for society. Society could no longer tolerate that level of corruption because it was spilling out into the streets. Okay? This is the level of corruption that society can no longer tolerate because we can't afford it anymore. Okay? So we're like basically nursing. There's like some animal that kicks the babies out of the nest and pretends to be one of the babies of the animal and then nurses off of it and gets bigger than it and then eats everybody. Like, that's what we're doing. I wish I knew what that animal was, but that's essentially what we're doing. We're breastfeeding a fraud, a phony, a fake. It's getting bigger than us now. It's outnumbering the American citizen. It's taking all of the benefits of being an American citizen without actually honoring the culture, the tradition, and the history of America. So the corruption is getting past the point where it can be tolerated. When you've enriched hundreds of Somalis in Minnesota, and they're essentially saying that this is Somaliland and we own you and we're going to run this the way Somalia is run in Africa, which is a failed fucking state. That is a level of corruption that is past the point of tolerance. When you have a level of corruption where, and my theory, this is just a theory, that I think allegedly the Democrat Party elected Tim Walz to be the VP. They selected him because they knew that he would have an unmitigated level of cash flow. It was like a slush fund because they're not going to allow the Somalis to operate in Minnesota freely without taking a cut. They took a cut. They obviously paid upwards. I'm sure Tim Walz took a cut. I'm sure the Democrat Party took a cut, probably, allegedly. I have no evidence, but that is my theory. That is what I think was going on, which is why he was selected to be the vice president. Because if Kamala would have won, you better damn well know and guarantee the Democrat Party would have been flush with cash. That's why they didn't have a problem spending money. It was no big deal to spend the amount of money that Kamala was given. But she's just so stupid, and everybody around her was so damn stupid that they were spending money on things that didn't help you win an election. They weren't focused on the actual ground game and making sure that the voting actually happened and things were stolen the way that they were supposed to be stolen. They just got so arrogant. And so this is why they're in the situation that they're in. But this lady is making an absolutely idiotic point. You cannot stop spending. You cannot stop the welfare system. You cannot stop all of these things altogether because this is the promise of America. What you need is to be vigilant. What you need to do is stay focused on these things. What you need to do is when you see an irregularity, when you see a trend going in the wrong direction, you need to attack it. You need to go after it. You don't just stop spending money. Like that's insane, dude. There's literally good people out there that are on welfare who are disabled. They can't get around, like have real disabilities, real problems, real ailments, who can't get around, can't get food. Without it, they would be in a real problem and a dire strait. And then people would be sitting there saying, well, nobody should be starving in America. And this is absolutely reckless. And so this is what Trump is balancing between people like her who wake up every day and they get to put on $1,000 suit or, a $50,000 ring that's on her finger and all this other stuff and get pampered and go to a studio. And she says, stop spending the money. Listen, you can't do that. Can't do it. Okay. I wish we didn't have to do it. I wish we lived in a society where that wasn't the case, but every society is going to have a certain level of corruption. You don't think there's corruption in the Trump administration on our side that's not like fatal? It's just a certain level of it where it's like, yo, these guys are trying to skim a little bit off the top. It's not anything that's anti-American. It's just regular low-level corruption. You don't think that happens, but you're going to go in and prosecute those people the same level of ferocity in which you're prosecuting the Democrats and the way that you want to prosecute the Democrats? I don't think so, because you have a bias which is corrupting you. Your own bias corrupts you against people that Tucker Carlson said this, and I don't even really agree with this. He said, if my brother committed murder, I would be on my brother's side and try to help him get out of the country. I'm like, listen, it depends on the circumstances, like if it was self-defense or something or whatever. But I don't necessarily agree with that stance. It depends on the situation. If my brother was out there like he was like a serial killer, there's no way I'm defending that. But essentially, he was saying that his loyalty lies with his family. And so that loyalty is going to corrupt your sense of justice and morality, period. So to sit there and say, we're going to be not corrupt, it's like you're an idiot. Corruption is a part of human nature. It's just what level of corruption can society tolerate? Okay? What level can we tolerate? And we are reaching intolerable levels where you have everybody from the CCP to Venezuela to Mexico, everybody, Somalis, everybody is stealing from us. Every damn body, because our system is so porous and we have so many different ways to fraudulently steal. And you have the average American person who's not even thinking about defrauding the system like that. And we can't even pay our bills. That's the level of corruption that's intolerable for our society, for the American culture, for the American patriotic pride moving forward. That's the level that you have to get rid of if you want America moving forward. Now, if you don't want that, that's different. But I don't think the Democrats wanted that, which is why their rhetoric matched that.
Spend the money in the first place.
Now, I would
spend
like
a lot of things that aren't fraudulent.
Charlie, I would like to invite Jackie into this melee.
I would just say what we've been saying for a while, which is that we don't have a revenue problem in this country. We've got an allocation problem. So when you're funding fraudulent programs and people are milking the system and taking advantage of it, I would side with you and say most people aren't going to want to defund the children, but the children who are deserving. You're going to have progressives on the left that will say, you know, the illegal immigrants, all these people that are here should be getting this money. I'm not talking about them. That's extremist. But if we could, you know, this reminds me a little bit of the Venezuela situation, which is so many people will stand back and just watch something happen and say, this is bigger than me or my administration. I can't fix this. And they'll just allow it to happen. I congratulate the president and his cabinet for saying, you know what, we're going to look into it. We're going to try to stop it. Somebody's got to try to do something. Most people pay their taxes pretty willingly in this country and don't have a problem with it. We're the richest country in the world.
I don't want to pay taxes.
And we help a lot of people. However, when you see the mismanagement of the money, that is what becomes infuriating.
And there's a huge degree of wokeness here. I mean, why didn't they look at the Somalis? I mean, let's be clear.
Because we know why. You'd be called racist.
You'd be called racist. I mean, it filters down throughout all this.
Look, Kristen Gillibrand went on to say in this statement, this has nothing to do with fraud and everything to do with political retribution that punishes poor children in need of assistance. So even if you want to keep it at the fraud level, they're going to tell you you're not cutting off funding because of fraud. You're cutting it off because you hate the children. All I'm saying is if Minnesota wants to provide health care or child care to their citizens, then Minnesota should pay for it, and California should do the same thing, and people in Arkansas shouldn't be sending their money to Minnesota to pay for child care. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Sweet, tangy, citrusy.
And that's exactly it. They found a loophole. They found a loophole in the system where federal money would come to them. They didn't use the budget of the state. They used the federal dollar. And that's just it, isn't it? That's the Democrat playbook every single time to make the taxpayer, everybody, the collective must now pay. The collective must now embrace the group. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Oh. Right, Spock? That's the goal. That's the plan. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about here. You know what I'm saying? It's a total communistic playbook. And every time they abide by it, and we sit there like dum-dums, bumps on a log, and don't recognize that that's what they're doing, we lose. We lose. We have to recognize that that is exactly what they're up to every single time. Every time. That's what they do. That's what they do. Oh man, I wanted to discuss some other things that were going on right now, at least politically. But the number one thing that I am like really, um, the number one thing that I'm really like focused on right now, and as we go into 2026, is helping people to understand that we are, um, we have been infiltrated. We have been infiltrated by, how do I put this? We've been the same way this level of corruption and fraud has been brought about. I'm gonna close this. I'm like fiddling around with stuff. The same way that this level of corruption and fraud has been brought about in our system on a state level using federal funding is the same exact way that this is being done on the internet now, online. We have a real problem, and like if you've been listening, you follow my social media, Instagram, my Facebook, whatever. I've been talking about how Candace Owens is 100% a fraud. She's 100% a fraud, just like, what is this? I don't even remember the guy's name anymore, but just like so many of these other guys that are literally being paid by other countries, Ecuador or Qatar, or there's such an interest to control the ideology, the mindset of American citizens, because being an American citizen, I'm telling you, in the next few years, having an American passport is going to be one of the most valuable things on the planet, which is why Trump was able to raise like $2 billion in 72 hours selling American visas to rich people from all around the world, because Europe is collapsing. Europe is going to collapse. I think that we're going to see a major terror attack in Europe this year in 2026. I believe that. I don't want it. I don't want that to happen, but I believe that that's what will transpire. And I think it'll probably happen somewhere around March or April, probably somewhere in that period, maybe in the summertime, something like that. I believe that Europe will be hit with, and I'm talking about Western Europe. I'm not talking about like the European countries that have tightened up their borders and locked their doors like Hungary. I'm talking about the ones that are still playing games and are still, buying into the woke rhetoric, and the ones that have rejected cryptocurrency, the ones that are not getting on board with this new system, the ones that are actually being left in the dust. In so many ways, like Europe is going to collapse, I think. And so you're going to have a lot of wealthy people from Europe moving to the United States or other countries that are more secure. But the United States is the best one, the best house in a bad neighborhood, clearly. And so what is being done right now is there are outside forces, outside influences. We know of these Chinese billionaires that are funding these left-wing protests. They funded the Venezuelan protests that we've seen over the last few days. We know that there's billionaires, the Walton family, the lady from Walmart that funded the No Kings protests. We know that there's all these billionaires, these globalists from all around the world that want to influence America to either get their little piece of the pie or to influence it so that it is malleable to do the things that they would like to do. In Walmart's case, just continue to keep their sphere of influence, we know that so many of the people that work at Walmart are on food stamps, on welfare programs. Most of the people that work there are on welfare programs. So the reason why they had all those protests, those No Kings protests, when there was the government shutdown to protest Trump about, he hates people who are on welfare and he's trying to make people starve and kill them and da-da-da-da-da. All that rhetoric was coming and being funded and paid for by the same people who do not want to raise their wages so that those people don't have to be on welfare. Walmart is a tremendously large company, probably would not harm the company at all to raise the wages of the people that work there in the stores. Yes, they'd probably have to raise the standards of the people, the hiring process. They would probably have to change and restructure their hiring processes, but they could probably raise the wages. We're not talking about store managers. We know those people make a lot of money. We're talking about the everyday worker. And now we know that there's Walmarts all around the world in different countries. And so their desire is not to endorse the American citizen, but to agitate the American citizen, to make them want to hate their country it's like a distraction so that they don't look at the thing that they actually hate, which is their job, their slave wage, shitty job working at Walmart. No, let's fund these protests so all the anger and the angst and the hate that they have, they can be redirected at the yellow-haired orange man and all the bad things that he's doing. When in reality, he's actually trying to salvage the little bit of America that is left to produce some more wealth for your dumb ass. But this is what's going on. We have a lot of leftists, and this goes back to my point about the brain drain. The brain drain that's happening generationally is because there's a lack of information. There's a lack of wealth of information that has been passed down. For whatever reason, older generations sometimes struggle with their ability to communicate and transfer their knowledge to younger people in a way that is understandable. And listen, it's not all their fault. Young people can be hard-headed and stupid and think that they're invincible and think they know better than everybody else as well. That's very much so true. Two things can be true at the same time. But this brain drain is making it so that there's an open door for all of these new influencers with all of these relatively new ideas that are just masking the same old crap, the division, the demoralization, and basically pushing a bunch of slop and blackpilling everybody. And so, I see Dan Bongino. We're talking about Dan Bongino comes out, and I don't know what the hell. I'm for the most part, I'm cool. Like, I think Dan Bongino's a good guy. I don't understand what's going on. I played a clip of Alex Jones. Dan Bongino's going after Alex Jones. He made a statement. I'm going to be going after all the black pillars. The black pillars? Alex Jones has never been a black pillar. Now, I get going after all the people who are trying to demoralize. The Elijah Schafers, who are trying to point out everything that Kash Patel does is wrong, and yet he's being funded by Ecuador. What? Like, the guy who lives in Australia being funded by Ecuador, talking about how black people are the worst scum of the earth every second, every chance that he gets. Who does that benefit in this country to split and divide black and white? Anybody who had the real best interest of this country at heart would not be, listen, there's tons of logical evidence that you could present to say, like, black people should not be doing this. They should not be doing that on average. But it's the type of just out and out, plain, just open racism. And so when Elon Musk did that thing where he added the function to X to show the home country of a lot of these accounts, people realize, holy crap, I've been following this account. I've been becoming more racist, and the account is based in Pakistan. The account is based in India. They don't give a damn about us. They don't live here. These are people who are intensely jealous of the wealth that we live in on a daily basis that we take for granted. And so they're sowing seeds of division. Why? Because they want a little piece. Can I bring that over back home here? Can I sell you some crap? Can I lie to you and make you believe my version of things so that you can come over here and buy some of my merchandise? And Candace Owens is just the biggest version of that, the biggest billboard name of that same thing. Exact same thing. And so we don't have people who are real patriots out there in the space. A lot of these people are just grifters, and I'm seeing them. They don't give a damn about the actual politics of the situation. Everything that they try to do. Now, listen, the Trump administration is not above reproach. They can be criticized. But last year, we took the criticism because people were like, hey, man, we don't want what happened last time. We don't want you to be run out of D.C. the way you were last time. Now, honestly, I thought that was just all a bunch of BS, because if you look at what's happened with Venezuela, it's pretty clear Trump left office after having lost an election to prove that he's not a dictator. The reason why Maduro was up for arrest is because he did not leave office twice. I think maybe even 3 times. So Trump left office to prove that he's not what these people were saying he was. And then he came back and won an election to prove just how hungry people were to have him here. But then you have all these people who aren't involved in politics, aren't content creators, and they are being blackpilled by people who have been in politics and realize, you know what, it doesn't really make me no damn money to be on Trump's team. All I get is attacked by the media. All I get is doxxed by the left wing. All I get is harassed and attacked. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go the opposite direction because I'll make money. The left won't attack me. And, you know, I can stay in the whole political thing. And I'm seeing it, and it makes me sick. It really makes me sick, bro. It makes me so sick because I some of these people I even looked up. I was like, oh, they seem like they're on the level. They seem like they're good. It makes me sick. Some of these people have just had their heart broken by being involved in politics, and politics is evil and ugly. So I get it. I understand, but it doesn't change my opinion. Nonetheless, it's like you're a piece of crap. Because we have one chance to get this country back. One chance. This is our chance. And you're playing chicken with our destiny, where you are willing to try to force the midterms to be lost, because you want to make a quick buck, blackpilling people against Trump. Trump is the best thing we've got right now. Okay, name a better thing. But you got these people up here who are like, I don't believe the government. I don't care about the Republicans. I don't care about Trump. I don't want them all to go to hell. Screw them all. They don't do anything for us. Everybody's against us. Everybody's robbing from us. But you're free to be on the internet saying all these things. That's interesting how you're on the internet saying all these things. Oh yeah. Oh my God, you're so suppressed. You're so repressed. You're so oppressed. You're such a victim. Dude, these people make me sick. Like, let's just think for a second. Let's just think for 2 seconds. Take a beat. Because it just feels good to think, oh, we're under attack. It always feels good to think that we can't win. To think that dude, the game ain't over yet. It's not over. But I saw all these people going, oh my God, it's over. Trump betrayed us. It's over. It's over because they didn't get what they wanted exactly when they wanted it on the Epstein files. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't even know what's going on with the Epstein files. You don't even know. So who the hell are you to think that you know what's best and you know when it's best to release this stuff? You don't know anything. But we tend to think that those people know more than we do, even though that's not the case. So I'm telling you, man, these people make me absolutely sick. They disgust me. Let's look at. I wanted to see Dan Bongino'S. Dan Bongino'S post. So let's open her up. Dan Bongino says, good to see you all. I missed you. This was yesterday. Thanks for everything while we worked on cleaning up. Working in the administration was the experience of a lifetime. I have some announcements coming up, but I'm taking a couple of days to spend with the family. Okay, a couple of good things. Thank you all for your interest in the show and its return date. We will have something for you soon. The Trump team is not kidding around. It's an otherworldly experience from the other side. He's determined and focused. And having been around quite a few presidents, this one broke the mold. If we blocked you, it's because we care so little about your bullshit that we deem it not worthy of even seeing. If you're bitching and whining about it, that means you can't exist without seeing and commenting on ours. You'll need to get over that. We do it because there's nothing black pillars and the anti-Trumpers want more than to create division and drama. We're about results, and we'll talk about some of it soon. Loving you all, and thanks again. Flaming Elmo emoji. Okay. I'm all for that. That's all good. I'm all for it. I don't understand why Dan Bongino was attacking Alex Jones. Alex Jones has never been a black pillar. I don't understand that at all. I don't know where that shit is coming from. Don't understand that at all. Maybe it's because of the influence of Mark Levin. Maybe, I don't know. After 10 months of dealing with and exposing the whole woke Reich cabal, podcasters and their ilk on a national platform outside of the internet, these thugs are now finally seeing that we patriotic, normal Americans, okay, buddy, far outnumber them, and their crap numbers mean nothing. The more Americans know about them, the more they despise, mock, and dismiss them. Politicians who embrace the woke Reich will also suffer the wrath of we the people. I mean, Mark, I don't know. I'm not really a Mark Levin fan because he be saying some of the most crazy stuff in the world. Just crazy, bro. But I want to find that. I think there was a Dan Bongino post. Maybe that was it. There's a lot of posts that we didn't see. Let me add this from the jump so there's no confusion. I started in this movement as a candidate during the Tea Party movement, and I began my political commentary career shortly thereafter. I helped build this movement, and I'm sure as hell not going to let it get hijacked by a group of black pillars, life losers, grifters, and bums. We are a movement guided by truth. The essence of conservative ideology is the preservation of eternal truths. We are not the latest thing group. We are not the political cannibals. I've watched quietly from the inside while doing the job I was hired to do, but I'm back now, and it's time to restore balance to the force that one was for gooey. Okay. As we get ready to make some announcements about the future of the show, I also want to warn the haters and the zeros. We've been at this a long time. We live for this stuff. This isn't our first, second, or 10th rodeo. We've seen a lot of dipshits come and go. We revel in making you angry enough to show your asses. It's glorious. We've got midterms coming up, and there's no time for bullshit. This administration is cooking, and real change simmers. If you're spending your entire day bitching and whining with 3/4 of the term still to go, then please find the exits. There's no time for it. It's not infighting when you excise a cancer killing the host. It's outfighting because you're not part of any movement I'm familiar with. Looking forward to the big things ahead. Can't wait to tell you about it. Now, I don't understand. Like I said, I don't understand Dan Bongino going after General Flynn. I don't understand. That's allegedly coming from Alex Jones and General Flynn. That's what they said. They said Dan Bongino sent the message to them via a proxy, a news journalist, reporter, media person, that he's coming after them. I don't understand why he's going after them. I don't get that. I really don't understand that. I just don't. I don't understand it. I don't. Because Alex Jones has never been a black pillar as far as I'm concerned. He's never been like, yo, it's over, we should just give up. He's never been like that, and he's never like really turned on Trump like that. He's never been like, Trump is wrong. Maybe it's because he had Marjorie Taylor Greene on his show over and over again, which I think personally, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think she's gotten blackmailed. I think that's why she left Congress, because otherwise it doesn't make any other sense otherwise. Her stupid excuse is absolute nonsense. It's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard of. It's the dumbest excuse I've ever heard of. And when you see these people starting to align themselves with the left, it makes tons of sense to me that they've been blackmailed. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene probably has a whole lot to be blackmailed on. She cheated on her husband. She had an affair with somebody else's husband, and now they're married. I mean, whatever, good for you, but that is blackmail material number one. And I heard that she goes both ways. So they probably got her on tape going both ways in some big orgy or something, and she couldn't get out of it, and they were going to blackmail her. What I actually believe happened is I think she got involved in something that was more of an Epstein honeypot thing and couldn't get out of it, because even the people in her district were like, what are you doing? We'll vote for you again in large numbers. Like, there was no risk of her not winning her seat back. And then she makes this bullshit excuse that she's leaving because it's just too corrupt and yeah, and Trump didn't return my phone calls and yeah, you can't really make change in Washington D.C. and yeah, I think she took some money from somebody she wasn't supposed to, or got caught on camera doing something she wasn't supposed to. She tried to call Trump and say, listen, this is what happened. Please help me get out of it. Blah, 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 blah. Probably trying to entrap Trump as well as part of, hey, you've been blackmailed. Try to entrap Trump and ensnare him in a scandal. He ignored her. And then she made this stupid ass claim that she's getting out of this beaten, broken woman relationship with a batterer. I'm like, dude, she's looking shadier and shadier every single day. That's all I have to say. And I think she's probably a great person. She's probably a good person. These things happen to good people. I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think she's evil. I don't think she's, as evil as somebody else like a Hillary Clinton. I don't think she's not even anywhere close to that level. But when you go up in that type of situation, I mean, for crying out loud, man, the FBI ran a sting operation to entrap new Congress people with they set up a fake company and set up a whole thing and then said that they were going to donate money to these new Congress people who just gotten sworn in and entrap them because a bunch of the Congress people took the money and they got arrested. It's like, bro, what kind of crap is that, man? Like, you're like setting people up, the FBI. So you don't have to be a bad person to get set up like that. But I think she got set up. If Dan Bongino's mad at Alex Jones for that, I don't understand. I really don't understand. Like, I think Dan Bongino did the best job that he could. I personally didn't think that he'd be a great assistant director of the FBI. I'm like, that's just a totally different job than what you're even really qualified for. So I didn't understand that. But like, kudos to him. And I'm really happy. I really am on board with what he is saying here about getting rid of the black pillars and the grifters, because X, if you go on X, it is like a cesspool of these people who are every day literally trying to demoralize you against the Trump agenda. And it's like they claim to be on the right. I'm like, who are these people, man? What is this? I'm like, everything Trump does is bad now? Like, because I'm seeing good things. I'm seeing good things. But according to them, everything Trump does is bad. And so that, so let me read this. 3 million views on the post before this one. Here's why. The support for the Trump administration in the working world is strong. Yeah, like people who aren't on the internet all day. It's the support is actually there. What these grifters are doing is they realize that, like I said, it's the brain drain. It's younger people who are looking for an alternative. They voted in the last election probably because of Charlie Kirk, if they voted for Trump, or they voted for Kamala, or they didn't vote, or whatever. They're confused about what's happening in the world. They're like, what is going on? They didn't know if they were going to be re-entering the Trump era. People with a mortgage, people who are smart, knew Trump was going to win. There's just no freaking way. But because younger people don't have a lot of life experience and they're, more hooked into the mainstream and to the media apparatus, they probably were like, well, it looks like Kamala's going to win. Everybody's saying good things about her. You could be fooled. And so now they're living in this world. They don't know what they're thinking. But people who voted for Trump, the young men who voted for Trump because of Charlie Kirk, are broken because Charlie's gone now. They don't know what the fuck to do. And so now it left the door open for all these people to try to explain this new world that we're in. And these people aren't trying to explain anything. They're just grifting. They're just trying to get what they want out of the administration. They're trying to put pressure and leverage on the administration. I don't know what the hell is going on with Nick Fuentes. I don't know, bro. That's what I'm saying. There's just so many layers of this crap that I can't even figure out. But to me, the guy looks like a Fed. Because on January 6th, he was the one, if anybody, was out there saying, let's go into the Capitol, let's break it down. He was doing all that. Never got arrested. Which is weird to me why someone like an Owen Schroyer wouldn't be more anti-Nick Fuentes. But okay, because he didn't go in the building, said not to go in the building, and he was arrested. Okay, weird. But he's super pro-Nick. I don't know. Whatever. Very strange. And then you have Nick Fuentes out there telling everybody we're not going to vote for Vivek. Vivek is a foreigner. Vivek is bad. There's this whole movement on the internet to try to, on X, to say Vivek Ramaswamy is terrible. And they're criticizing everything that he's saying. And they're like, I would rather have the Democrat to be governor of Ohio. What the fuck is that? What is that? No, I would much rather have Vivek. I don't give a damn what he's saying rhetorically during his campaign. I know what he's going to do, and it's not going to be as bad and as devastating as this Democrat. But they know, this is what I'm saying. This is a complex thing where this is obviously being directed from a higher level where they're paying people, because look at what's happening to all these Democrats. Look at what has just happened with Tim Walz. Tim Walz just had to step down. He just had to step down out of running for governor because the heat was on him. Now they're putting somebody worse up there to run, but he just had to step down. Okay. So you're starting to lose Democrats in positions of power all across the country. So what do? They go to the right and they say, oh, Trump is so much worse than we thought that we actually have to go back to the middle and endorse Democrats to get what we want out of this country. No, I don't think so. We haven't gone far enough to the right to correct things. If you start putting Democrats in everywhere, just watch. Virginia elected that governor. Virginia's going to get what it voted for. But then again, Virginia is so close to D.C., it's mostly full of people who work in D.C. And, that was the big swing. It's very Democrat there. But I think there's something weird and shady going on. And this year, everybody's going to see it. We're no longer in the year of the snake. We're in the year of the horse. And it's going to be corrected very quickly. I'm sure of it. Now, if Alex Jones gets exposed for being on some weird stuff, I'll be like, wow, that's crazy. But I don't think that's going to happen because Alex Jones has been steady and straight for 30 plus years. Nobody's ever been able to say that he works for this or that for 30 years. I mean, it's like 30 years. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't understand why Dan Bongino is coming after him outside of the fact that he has people like Nick Fuentes on his on his show. He has people like Marjorie Taylor Greene on his show. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nick Fuentes are very suspicious to me. I know Nick Fuentes is super popular because he says funny things and he's a funny guy and he's great. I think he's funny. I think he's great too. I think he's funny. I think he's great too. But is he a fraud? Is he a Fed? Is he a shill? More than likely, yeah, he's absolutely a Fed. I'm gonna find that video where he was at January 6th, and then you cannot tell me that this guy is not. It's not that is highly suspicious. That's highly suspicious. So I don't get it. I don't know. We will see. But let me keep reading here. The support for the Trump administration in the working world is strong, and people are tired of the endless bullshit from the black pillar chicken little grifters. What? Okay. Watch the tactics, and once you see them, you'll never unsee them. They use a couple different tactics to bullshit you. First, they overload you with information, but they underwhelm you with evidence. Here's an example of what I mean. They'll try to convince you that John Smith robbed a bank, so they'll data download on you and lose you in the chaos. They'll tell you things that might be true, but aren't evidence of anything. They'll tell you John was in the bank that day, that John knew someone who worked there, that John was arrested 10 years ago for a misdemeanor, but they won't tell you that the fingerprints, video, and DNA of the thief matches someone else. Solid investigators sift through chaotic information and mine the evidence gems. Charlatans and morons do the opposite. Now, he's absolutely right on that one, and I think he's talking about Candace Owens right there, because that's all Candace Owens has done. Point the finger at people who yeah, sure, you could say that there's a possibility, but the reality is they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Like, okay, so you're like pointing at people because it's kind of convenient. And it's like, well, in a fantasy novel that would work, in a real, like a super salacious crime novel, piece of fiction that would be very interesting, but it's not like reality, which is usually pretty boring. Second, black pillars will rarely take on the president directly. They know they'll get destroyed by the ball. I mean, that's very true. Once again, we're talking about Candace Owens. Alex Jones always directly talks to Trump when he says things. Dude, I don't know how Dan Bongino is mad at Alex Jones. I don't get it, but okay. They know they'll get destroyed by the boss and wind up in the political graveyard of egomaniacs who thought they could take the president on with bullshit as a proxy. I mean, that's true. You never see Nick Fuentes talking to Trump like that. It's 100% true. He'll take on JD Vance because JD Vance doesn't have that ability. He's not, bro, JD Vance ain't got it like that, bro. I'm just going to say that. They try to pick off his allies. But what did I just say? JD Vance. Knowing many of them are limited in the ways they can fight back. Well, I'm back now, and I'm putting this bullshit to a stop. Everyone inside the administration I cross paths with is busting their asses to move the needle on real change. You can do things fast, or you can do things correctly. You can rarely do both in government. Even with those constraints, the administration's accomplishments are breathtaking. I mean, he's fucking right. It's true. I want to be clear. Oh, I want to be clear on this point. Oh, what the fuck? What happened? Okay. I want to be clear on this point. Intra-party movement policy disagreements are healthy and natural, but endless pessimism meant to strategically attack a movement from the inside is not about policy. It's political cannibalism. And many of these grifters are hiding their real agendas from you. And that leads me to my next point. That's what I'm talking about. That's literally what I've been saying about demoralization. They are demoralizing the movement. They're not adding to it. They're not adding to it. A real criticism and disagreement will add, not subtract. It will add. It'll say, listen, you're not seeing this over here. Come check this out. Oh, yeah, let me do that. I almost missed that. Thank you. That's not what they're doing. They're demoralizing. Third, the black pillars are infamous for telling you an administration policy or action is going to lead to the end of the world before the policy has even been given time to demonstrate results. You're seeing it now with regard to Venezuela. Will it work out? Maybe. We will see. We will all see. But maybe give it a minute before you attack from the inside the tent while pretending you're an ally. Black pillars and grifters asked for this fight, not us, but I'm absolutely down to fight it. Absolutely down. Dude, I agree with everything Dan Bongino just said right there. I agree with everything he said because that's what I've been seeing. And it was confusing to me for a while. I'm like, what is going on here? Because I'm like, dude, listen, I get that most people are still bought into the media propaganda and the propaganda that Trump is somehow bad and dangerous. And he's somehow going to be dangerous for the country. He's dangerous to everybody he touches. And he's just, I get it. There's some fear and trepidation whenever you're dealing with a maverick individual. I totally understand that. However, it's gotten to the point where it's starting to demoralize people. When I have conversations with them, they think it's like, what is the point of engaging in politics? This shit sucks. I'm throwing away the American flag because once again, we've gotten screwed over. We've gotten lied to. And I'm like, dude, nothing's even happened yet. You haven't even let anything happen yet. I'm like, who are you listening to? Like, what are you listening to? What are you watching? What do you see? And it's mostly people that are saying that to me who are not students of the game. They're not students of the game. They don't study politics. They don't know the moves. Or they're younger people that the brain drain has not transmitted the proper amount of information to them where they can go, I see how this actually works. I see how this has traditionally worked. And I also see how Trump, even though it's untraditional, is going to be good. So I agree with everything Dan Bongino said there. I agree with everything he said. Everything. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of grifters who are like, they're not necessarily negative or demoralizing towards Trump or Trump's agenda, but they're just like critical of it to the point where they're like, I don't know, I ain't on board with that. I ain't really fucking with that. Because that's what people want to hear. It's a grift. People don't want to be like slobbering all over Trump's dick all day. I get it. I totally understand it. But the reality of it is, Dan Bongino declares war on black pillars and grifters trying to hijack Matt. Now, listen, you cannot attack Alex Jones. Number one, because Alex Jones was the first place Dan Bongino actually got his start in media. I remember seeing Dan Bongino on Alex Jones as an insider who used to be a Secret Service agent to give insider information about being a Secret Service agent to Obama way before he had his own show, way before all that, dude. That's where he got to start. So I don't really understand how he could be mad at Alex Jones. I don't even understand that. Secondarily, Alex Jones was the first major podcast show that Trump went on when he announced he was running for office. So Alex Jones was more pivotal to Trump winning the first time around than Dan Bongino. So I don't understand, but that's what Alex Jones has said is going on. That's what he has said is going on, that insiders have come to him and said Dan Bongino's pissed at him. I'm like, are you pissed at him? Alex Jones has been critical of the FBI because from what we can see, we're like, what the hell is going on? But he's not been subtractive. He's been additional. He's been saying, hey, listen, what is happening? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing that? Are you seeing the other? Your rhetoric sounds a little sloppy and you don't look believable. That's all he said. You can't cheerlead every damn thing. You can't cheerlead stuff when it looks ridiculous, especially Dan Bongino having been in media, looking as crazy as he looked in some of these interviews. That's all we were saying. We're not saying that you're corrupt. We're just saying, like, what the fuck is going on, bro? So I don't know why he's mad. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. So that's it on Bongino, pretty much. I guess that's what he said. We will see, man, because I really don't think that that's the person to go after. I really don't think. I don't think that's the person to go after. Alex Jones has been persecuted and brought to jails. And brought to court and all this stuff for supporting Trump. I mean, it's like he's never even actually come out and said, I'm against Trump. Like, he's never even done that. So I don't understand. But there are a lot of people who are out there doing the black pill thing. Nick Fuentes is kind of one of those people who's like highly critical of Trump. And I understand why he's doing it. It's because his younger audience needs to be shown how to talk about these things. I get it. But at the same time, you know, I'm seeing a lot of it out there. I'm seeing these people who are out there grifting. I'm seeing it. I don't like it either. We'll keep our eyes on it. We really will. But thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Blackrant show. We're going to keep coming to you guys live every Tuesday and Thursday. And then we're going to have like a little special after hours show where we get a little bit more wild. I'm hoping in the near future to have something very special for everybody, but we got to work out a lot of these technical kinks, which are killing me right now, but we have some limitations technologically. We're going to get those fixed up and shaken out. And then we'll come back to you guys. And thank you guys for tuning in. Special thank you to my Kick audience, because we're actually starting to grow there. We want to grow because I haven't even streamed on Kick really. So we're gonna do that. And we're gonna bring some more political news to everybody over there. So stay tuned. Blackrant. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, X, all the social medias, YouTube, and I'll see you guys next time. Blackrant.